Today's guest is an actor, a writer, a director. He's won an Oscar award. You know his movies like Good Will Hunting, Gone Girl, Batman. The list goes on. He has a new film, The Accountant 2. It's in theaters this Friday with John Bernthal. You may have seen the first one. I had a great time getting to know him. Today's guest is Mr. Ben Affleck. Yeah, I lost mine. I wonder if you lose vanity as you get a little bit older. Like, not you, but like, what is that?
I don't know. I see some people like, I don't know. It's hard to tell because, you see some people like doing crazy looking things and you think like, that looks crary. Why are you trying to look 18 years old? You know what I mean?
Like that guy who's on Celebrity Big Brother right now. Who's that guy? He kind of looks like Jack Sparrow.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I can imagine. You know what I mean? You kind of can... I think you can go one of two ways. Like if you see yourself all the time, and especially if like the way you make a living is by kind of in part the way you look or whatever, it feels like, people can get like obsessed with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of who I was thinking of, Mickey Rourke, I think.
Yeah.
No judgment against him, but he trusts, it's like it's definitely an active... Yeah, some people it's like an active thing. And then you're in a real kind of like conundrum with yourself because you have to get old. So then you would constantly be feeling like afraid to get older, I guess, or you'd be in like
Yeah, I think it's a tricky thing, right? Like, nobody wants to get older, right? Because what it means is like you're going to die. Yeah. And nobody wants to really face that. And also you just find out like, you're 50, man. When you get there, you'll see like just regular shit that used to be normal hurts. Like moving around, you're like, damn, what happened to me today? You're like, why is my back hurt? Oh, because I got up and then I sat back down. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I petted a small dog.
Creates like small injuries all the time, and so you start to get a little bit that can kind of affect you. And I think if you, I think part of it's you got to just get comfortable with the fact that and I guess I'm lucky because I don't feel like, oh shit, I better look young, and I, kind of am who I am, and I'm all right with that. And also, kind of what I like, what I'm interested in more and more is stuff that doesn't necessarily involve like how I look, like that pressure. I think like for women, for anybody who sees himself all the time, it's like I think that can turn into like a vicious cycle of trying to look at shit and fix it or look younger or something. Whereas like you don't have to look any kind of way to direct movies, you know what I mean, or have a business, So I guess I'm lucky in that way.
It's hard to know if it would seem like you seem like a guy who likes being in Hollywood or doesn't like being in Hollywood, I guess.
There's things I really like about it and things I really don't like.
Yeah.
Right. And I wish they didn't have to be together, but they are, right? Like it's kind of life. You got to take the good with the bad. I don't really like to do big social events or go out much. I'm kind of shy. I don't really want to be on camera. Certainly when I'm like in my regular life and I'm walking around in my, whatever, underwear and t-shirt and stuff. I don't want people looking at me. I have my family and my kids and my life. I wish that were more private. I don't know how many people really want to be sort of scrutinized in that way, but I really like making movies and I like telling those stories. And so look, the truth is I always knew that was kind of a part of it. And so, I deal with it. There's things I don't love about this business, a lot of them. It can make you kind of crazy, it can record. And there's stuff that's just no fun for me, like, events and shows and stuff like that. Some people really know how to have a good time. I wish I did. I wish I was out there like, great, we're going to hit it. And I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like as if I had that attitude, I'd probably be happier about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I'm always trapped inside of myself. There's always like a lot of like some people are like, you don't like being in a crowd. I'm like, I have a crowd inside of me right now.
There's a crowd in my head is busy enough.
I got 30 people in here and we're out of hors d'oeuvres. So I got enough fucking problems on the interior right now. So I can totally relate to that. And every time there is and then we'll get off this. I want to talk to you about directing and acting, but Because I was like, this bit is so, because they always get pictures of you where you seem like you're like the dwarf that like is kind of like the backup dwarf, you know, like you're on the side, you're smoking, you're like,
what is that guy? I don't know that character, but is he pissed?
Because he's a little pissed. Yeah, he's an understudy.
He's the understudy dwarf. Okay.
And not dwarf, like you're a regular heighted guy, but it's like, and I shouldn't have said dwarf. I shouldn't say anything, but it was like, I don't know. And it's like they only put this chronology out of you that makes you seem like you're kind of bummed.
Well, here's the thing. If the only time, like when somebody's taking a picture of me, I'm bummed because usually I'm with my kids. I'm trying to go somewhere, and then there's 4 guys. We're like, hey. And I'm like, hey man, every time, can you give me some time? I'm trying to be with my kids. Do you mind? Can you know what I mean? So the look on your face is kind of like. And then they go away and not taking the picture. You go inside and you're having a good time. But it's this selective experience of like, take a picture of somebody every time they're feeling irritated. They're going to look irritated.
Especially if you're the one irritating them.
Yeah, it's like, I'll come piss you off and then take your picture and then be like, look how pissed off he is. Well,
exactly. Right. That's exactly what that whole system is really.
Right. But it's like useful because that's why, like, you know, I'm sure you've seen on all this stuff like that's kind of the idea is like follow somebody around, antagonize them, and then hopefully they'll have like a nervous breakdown and go crazy on you, and then your video will be worth more money, you know?
Yeah, it's that whole thing gets really Black Mirror-ish, man. You know, it really gets kind of like
I can remember a long time ago, you know, years and years ago, like I really had a lot of empathy for Britney Spears because I remember that it seemed like it's not somebody that I knew or hung out with, but I just like everybody else. You see all this shit that comes through, but having had my own experiences myself, I knew like these are people who are following her around in a time where she may or may not have been having difficulty. I don't know because I don't know her, but I do know that the cycle of having people harangue you and yell at you and hassle you and follow you, it kind of seemed like that itself was kind of whipping up the whole thing into a tizzy. So
they're not helping.
Well, yeah, and they're kind of poking a stick at it and going, look at it. And that's where it felt kind of like, that's the first time I thought, this is kind of a weird kind of unintentional, I think, culturally, but kind of collective cruelty where what's taken out of the image that you see are the people around, you know, waving the stick at the tiger or poking on it or whatever, and all you see is the growling animal or whatever it is. But like that, a part of that is because somebody's coming around and, you know, hitting on it or whatever to make it get active, and that's where you think, okay, well, this isn't really news. It's not even real. It's not what would be happening if this effect wasn't taking place. Yeah, and that's where I thought, okay. You know, the sort of wise thing to do is to just sort of like maintain one's perspective and try to remove yourself a little bit. It doesn't, which is what I would like to do. I think there's this sense that like if you see someone's picture all the time, they must want you to be seeing it, right? Which is not the case at all for me. I'm self-conscious. I don't really want you to be seeing that. I don't see any reason for it. As an actor, it's no good for you because I don't really want people, if they watch a movie, to be like, that's not him, because I saw him yesterday eating lunch and I know he's who he really is. It gets in the way of you being able to create like the illusion. It's really hard work to create the illusion that this person, like the character in The Accountant 2, for example, is a real person in a real circumstance. And in order to get the audience to care about it, to laugh, to find it exciting and empathize with the character, they have to suspend disbelief. That's harder if you're constantly being shown something else. So I think it gets in the way. It makes it harder to be an actor. And it's also not good for you. People start to resent you if they see you too much, no matter whether or not you're trying to be seen. No, I don't want to do this. And nonetheless, like I remember 20 years ago going through an experience where it was like, it feels to the world like I'm trying to shove myself in their face. And nobody likes that, right? Nobody wants to be the camera hog, the guy who's trying to get a bunch of attention.
Ben Affleck shoes or whatever.
And I'm like, man, you just leave me alone, and I would be much happier. So in a way, it also can damage your career. Although I think I don't pretend to understand the nuances and of social media and how to manage that as a celebrity, so I don't do it. Some people do it really well, and I think there is a difference now because like. It's like if you have 100 million followers, that's actually valuable and meaningful in a different way. I'm kind of old school, I guess, in a way of seeing
medium school, I think.
I'm middle school. Yes, exactly. I am a 7th grader.
That's true. Oh, dude, yeah. I don't even know if I graduated that one. Some of them they let you skip, I guess, if you're, depending on what county you're in.
Sometimes they hold you back.
Sometimes they hold you back, dude. Bro, the scariest thing was when like the dumb bully kid got held back, and you're like,
you had to stick around in your grade, and
dude,
you're like,
they were
oh,
like,
man.
bro, I remember we got word.
The kid's 6'10" and in like sixth grade.
Dude, we got word that Damien had gotten held back, and people were like, oh, hell no, dude. We cannot do Damien again.
Hold me back, too.
We cannot do Damien again. Like, Damien has to go out to pasture wherever they put these kids that leave sixth grade. And they're like, Damien's coming back.
Finish their education at sixth grade.
Shut him down, dude. Tase him or something. Put a tire spike when he's leaving out of his driveway in the morning. But Damien cannot come back. But yeah, it is interesting, and it is kind of a sickness. I think a lot of people see that stuff as a sickness these days. But I do think it's fascinating about the suspension of disbelief, and that was something that used to be amazing about celebrities is like you never got to see them, right? And so you only got to see them, and actors, and you only got to see them on screen and in this way. And so you really envision them that way. I mean, you would almost be shocked if you saw a celebrity in person or an actor in person who didn't like Indiana Jones if he didn't have his hat and whip.
I was just going to say that. Is that when I was a kid, I kind of thought Harrison Ford was that guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's Harrison Ford. I think he's probably the biggest, movie star of my childhood. And whether it was like, Indiana Jones or Star Wars, like he was the guy. And I kind of thought he was that guy. And so it's a little weird to see that guy just like, in his sneakers and his kind of raincoat walking around Brentwood. It's sort of like, of course it's disappointing or it's disillusioning or something because you have this thing in your mind that's people went to Steven Spielberg and George Lucas went to a whole, use all their talent, went to a bunch of work to make this dude look like Indiana Jones and Han Solo. And I think what I've seen now is like, I actually don't even want to see like the actors that I really like. I don't want to go on your social because I don't want to know what you had for lunch because it just makes it harder for me to get into like what you're doing.
I love that. And I think that is a real directorial way to think, I think. I mean, I can see that in your brain. I mean, I'm just a judge. I'm just a guy judging you. They just met in a room somewhere. But I never thought about that's how it is. That, yeah, you want them kind of, Hollywood has almost bitten its own tail in that way because there's this underlying like valueless current really that's kind of like a very cheap currency.
It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood sort of adjacent, which is this side of media culture that profits from and circles, and there's a symbiotic relationship between Hollywood and obviously like here I am promoting my movie and running around, and now I don't want to go on like a tabloid and do that or whatever it is, but that becomes part of that culture too. And then you have like any interview show or all these, and you're right, in a sense it is Hollywood because if you do a movie at Universal, you'll see that person's doing all NBC, Comcast owned, talk shows and appearances, right? Like it's not a coincidence because when they do their presentation in the boardroom for Comcast to their shareholders, they go, look, we make these movies, we spend a lot of money, and then we get the stars and we plug them into all of our other shows that we also own, and there's a lot of synergy, so on and so forth. The idea, though, is like, okay, that's a kind of a tax that you end up sort of paying on your sort of life and the one hand, and on this thing that you're trying to build, which is something that connects with people and moves them, and that they want to go out to a fucking movie theater and pay good money to see. And it makes it a little bit harder than to have to kind of go around and do all that other stuff and be like, okay, well, that's not who I really am, and that's and to try to sort of be interesting and relevant in some other way that isn't really what you kind of even wanted to do. And so you're right. It's sort of part Hollywood and also kind of Hollywood adjacent. It does eat its tail
in a way because the acting and the creation. It's like looking at the beauty of a lake, right? It's like this is picturesque, and this is like how they meant the waves to look, and there's a current here, and there's an inflow and outflow, and something landed in the water over here and left a ripple, and something else this is the B story, and there's a ripple, but then it's all this stuff under it, and it's almost starting to like kind of drain its own lake in a way.
It's a good metaphor, yeah, like the movie as the kind of lake and the underneath of what's both what goes into it and what happens behind the scenes, and also what it takes. Same thing. And it does kind of like, it's interesting, like, if you overtax it, it lowers the lake, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like a beautiful lake. It starts to look like the low country marsh, and it pools down. You start to see all the little black mud around the edges and the muck, and that's I don't know how to kind of balance that. But as a director, you're right. Like I would say that's the principal way I've always kind of looked at this stuff. So it used to be that you had an actor and you had people knew less about them. And now a part of even casting for me is, what do people think of and expect this person to do and or be? And how can I have to rely on that and use that, but I also have the opportunity to kind of subvert that in a way. And so you have to be mindful, not just of the story you're telling, but what does the audience bring into the theater with them or when they turn on television, and expect.
I think that's advanced thinking, to be honest with you. I really do.
It's just learned by lived experience mostly, find out, like I even often make mistakes, like if I sometimes have found if I sort of, I did a movie where I had like a very blonde wig that was like a medieval.
Were you Ric Flair or something?
I wish I was Ric Flair. That would be spectacular. I'd love to play. It was actually a good movie. I really liked it. It was called The Last Duel. The point, and it was great director Ridley Scott, and he had this idea for it.
Oh yeah, Ridley Scott.
And yeah, there's the thing there you see, and I liked if no one had, I think, had ever seen me or whatever, I thought that was really interesting. The problem is that people, I think what it did,
was Aaron
people, first of all, created noise around. Look at this hair, is this different? And we know it's a wig. Right. And so now you look at it and you go, but I know he doesn't look like that. And so it causes you to kind of think it's false. That's an example of kind of probably not being able to go that far away from myself and still have people go, okay, I can sit aside what I know and just watch this story and like it and believe in it.
Dude, that's fast. That's insider baseball, man. No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense that would start to affect how we see things. There's something that's happening where it's hard to get people to believe in some of these movies, and people's attention spans have changed. It's gotten interesting.
Yeah, that's a bunch of things. The fact that like even the online world, for example, you see now that like shorter and shorter and shorter like clips, or even my son, who's constantly showing me clips of you, by the way. He's always like, you know what I mean? So it's
is he a nice kid?
He's a great kid. Yeah, he's a fabulous kid. And he now when I watch him like scroll, it's like he doesn't even get through the 6 seconds.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, and he'll like a long period of time for him is 4 or 5 seconds. And then I'm like, hey man, let's watch this show or watch this movie. And it's like, he gets bored fast. He got to really love something to sit through it. And then he binges like all the episodes. Like we just sat through and watched, Invincible, this animated show, and then it's like, let's keep going. So it's this weird dichotomy of, on the one hand, it's like, no. Okay, then plug in and like mainline this one thing and eat it all up till it's gone. And yeah, so it has really changed. You didn't used to be able to like pause and select or even have that much to choose from.
Yeah.
Like that many choices is overwhelming to the mind. Like we weren't made, I don't believe, evolutionarily and as human beings to like, we're supposed to be living in like a village and see about 100 people in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Right? That's the vast majority of human history. That's how we did it. And I still feel like in a way that's how we're socialized. It's why, for example, if you're feel left out of a group, it's very painful because like in, thousands of years ago, if you got left out of the village, the group, whatever, and they didn't take you to hunt, you died, right? You needed those people to live. And so
it hits something really limbic inside
now, like
of you.
And even social media, for example, you're looking at stuff and you're going, damn, why is everybody else's life so good? And seeing the life you're advertising looks so fucking cool. Yeah. And my inside life feels like shit. That also is like a basic primal thing. And I think that's what, and this stuff kind of touches, but the amount of information now that comes in, because really now everybody's a celebrity, right? Everybody is a celebrity. Everybody is followed. Everybody's life is out there. And
there's newborns. There's 4 months old and 1,100 followers.
And it's really like 1,100 followers is kind of, it's not any different from celebrity. It's just a matter of degree.
But this is a 4 month. He can't even open both of his eyes at the same time.
And it's like, yeah. Exactly. And that's kind of become that as the currency of, man, that looks great, that like the currency of like fame in and of itself as a desirable thing. Like people go, man, I want to be rich and famous. Like take rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Famous is not gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
It seems like it will, because it's like, oh, people will like me and know my name and kind of know who I am, and I'll feel like I've done something. I think a lot of times what happens is if it doesn't come with a real sense of like achievement or accomplishment, it actually feels hollow and empty and like bullshit and undeserved.
Do you think you wanted to start directing because it gave you even more of a sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Is that a weird question? But does that make any sense?
No, it does make sense. I wanted to fail on my own terms, because I had gone through some movies where I was like, I don't like this, I don't agree with this, but you got to do how it's like playing a football team, whatever. You got to run the plays that the coach sets up. You know what I mean? They're gonna run a draw play, get the ball and turn around and run a sweep right because they're not blocking that way. You know what I mean? It's just that's not going to work, right? So that's how that whole art form is sort of structured by and large. And what I found was, I had a real strong sense of the way I wanted to do it. Yeah. And when it didn't work, when it worked, I didn't feel great because it wasn't me that had that feel. I didn't feel like I didn't feel proud of it. And when it didn't work, I just felt pissed off. Like, fuck, I didn't want to fucking do it. God damn, I didn't want to, I said it, I knew it. And that's a terrible feeling. So I'd rather fail on my own terms or succeed on my own terms. And that's where I kind of got into directing. And I wanted to do it even when I was younger. And I just didn't have the confidence. And at a certain point, I kind of had nothing to lose. And that was really what kind of gave me the courage to take that leap.
In the directing, you mean?
Yeah, because as an actor, I got real cold and had a couple of movies that didn't work. And then, all of a sudden it can be kind of over for you. That's why it's a tough business. Fuck yeah, man. There's no seniority, there's no tenure, there's no retirement, there's no gold watch. If your show doesn't work or your movie doesn't work and nobody wants to hire you, they're just gonna hire someone else. Yeah. There's 130,000 people in SAG and there's only 30,000 people that work every year, right? And then there's an even smaller amount of those roles where you have more than 2 lines. So it's very tough, right? And so if you're not, people aren't watching, and they're not coming, or it's not interesting, see you later.
And now it's different because I think the movie theater, it's a new attack. I think it takes novel thinking these days. I think that movies themselves, long form, I think they're going to have to find some new, unless it is great or new or so novel, they're going to have to find some new ways to either present it or edit it. I'm not sure what it is, but to me, just as a viewer, it feels like we're in this shift because so quickly have people gotten into these quick moments. And it's not even that their attention span is short, their commitment. It's like they don't want to, it's like, I'm not committing to that.
Think about all the other options that you have.
Oh, totally. You're sitting there, you have a computer. You fucking.
When I was a kid and we went out, there wasn't shit else. There was 3 channels and nothing on TV, and it wasn't. And if you didn't go see the movie in the theater, you had to wait, a year for it to come out on VHS or DVD or whatever it was, or cable. And so you were kind of
rumor. You just had to wait for it to come out in a diorama. It was bad.
Exactly. The cave painting and shit. How long is it going to take you to paint this on my cave?
Or a tattoo. A guy came through with a tattoo and it told a story.
The whole thing, yeah. And so you had to
it looked like a domestic dispute a lot, but you're like, hey, there's a story for everything. But dude, even this light, Danny McBride gave me this a month ago or something. This light, it's like a flashlight or something. Well, this side's just like a flashlight, right? But the other side is like a wiener light. You can put a wiener on something. It has but I'm just saying everything has 7 things now.
Right.
Ready to win some real cash during the basketball playoffs? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition. Hit all your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6. Plus, even more cash if you outscore the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. I've had a good experience with Pick 6 from DraftKings. I like to get my picks in there. I like to get Jokic and more than 13 rebounds. And I like to get Anthony Edwards out there and more than 21 points. That's how it is. You pick players and you pick their stats. New players get 50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code Theo. That's code THEO for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Everyone likes a good hack. You know, like a buy one, get one at the mall, or a combo meal, or even just a nickname. You know, that's Bartholomew there, but we call him Bart. That's a hack. But what if I told you there was a wireless hack? Wireless that lets you live in the know. Well, there is, and it's called Visible. Visible is the ultimate wireless hack. It's unlimited wireless that puts you in control. You get unlimited data and hotspots. You can stay connected on the go. And it's powered by Verizon. Visible runs on Verizon's 5G network. So you get great coverage, fast speeds, seamless connection. Visible also gives you access to 4K streaming. Ready for wireless that lets you live in the know? Make the switch at visible.com. That's VISIBLE.com. Plans starting at $25 a month. For our best features, get the new Visible Plus Pro plan for $45 a month. Terms apply. See visible.com for plan features and network management details. But I'm just saying, like, everything has like 7 things now.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And I think you're right.
Like
Like, if you want to get people to go to the theaters, movies either got to be really good. Like, you can't just, used to be like, okay, there's going to 3 movies in the theater every weekend. People are going to go to one of them. Now you got to have a reason to want to go out and see it. And I'm lucky because, you know, the reason why I'm really confident about this movie, The Accountant 2, is it actually plays great. It's a really good movie. People love it. I've been, you know, but I was one where I was like, let's test this movie. Let's take it out there. And I'm like, okay, this movie belongs out there theatrically. And it's still more difficult. In the old days, this movie would have been a home run, easy. Obviously, I'm like, the movie's great. It works great. It's a big smash hit. Now you have to like, okay, work hard to get it out there because ahead of time you screen it for people, you see what they say, and the reaction's pretty consistent, interestingly. Right. So, but now it's like, you know, I think your point about what you have to do, like the Minecraft movie or Barbie, or, you know, it almost has to become like a cultural event, like where people are going acting the scenes out. Like there's a whole reason to go do it. Kind of, unless you know, I think it's really good. And that's really what I believe. You really believe in this? This movie's, listen, you know, absolutely.
Would you come out and say it was good if it wasn't?
Not like that. Yeah. I would sort of talk around it or talk about, well, there's some things I like about it. But now I wouldn't even want a movie to go out theatrically. Yes. I didn't think it was going to work theatrically because you know, I think, well, you know, there's people that will watch this on streaming because I do think the bar is lower. And I think that different kinds of movies work on streaming, and, you know, great movies work on streaming too. But I would say I would choose to do that. This was one that was supposed to be, I wasn't, you know, it wasn't like we're going to go out theatrically. It was when the movie came together and worked as well as it did, you know, we thought this is definitely a theatrical movie. And I think it's really good. I'm really proud of it. I love it. John Bernthal's great. It's funny.
John
It's better
Bernthal's
than
in
the
it?
first one. Yeah, John Bernthal plays my brother. He's great.
He's your brother?
Yeah. That's to me, and we're like a
fuck?
two-hander.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Y'all are brothers?
In the movie, he's not my real brother, but yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. He's fucking amazing in the movie. And
he plays your. So wait. So who is the accountant? Or you can't tell us.
No, it's me. Right. I'm this guy's accountant who's.
Are you a CPA?
I was a CPA, but it's sort of one of these things where it's going to sound a little bit far-fetched when I tell you, but it's actually very plausible. Which is, we grew up obviously together as we're brothers, and we had this father that was very tough on us, like heavy-duty military guy. This is in the first movie, right? When we were kids, you see flashbacks, and he kind of was, you know, trained us.
This movie.
You've seen the first movie, right? This is the second one. You saw the first one, me and John, came out like 8 years ago.
Yeah. So this is the second one.
This is the sequel to it.
Yeah. I didn't. Sorry, man.
That's
I didn't put it together.
But I think this actually, you know, which is rare, and I definitely wouldn't say this if it weren't true, it's better than the first movie. It's funny. It's got more kind of heart. It's more broadly accessible. The action's better, and I really liked the first movie. So,
and you directed this one too?
No, I acted it. Got him. Gavin O'Connor directed this movie, who's a really good director who directed the first one.
And how do you decide who is a good director? Because you're a good director yourself.
Thank you. But I guess the way you decide that, honestly, is by watching their movies.
Okay.
You look at it and you go kind of, and if it's something that you do, you sort of watch it and you can tell. Even movies where there's instances where it's like might not be my kind of movie, or it might, my taste, but you can still say, okay, well, this is somebody who really understands. This is like a master. This is somebody who's very competent. Or it really is to my taste, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get good at. So there aren't very many great directors, and that's one of the really tricky things about making movies. This is the third time I've worked with this director, Gavin, and I really like the guy. He did Miracle. He did this movie Warrior.
Warrior is with the
Joel
boxer
Edgerton and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
no, Jake.
Charlemagne.
Why am I forgetting his name? The dude from Venom, Tom Hardy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Joel Edgerton and Nick Nolte.
People love him.
Yeah, and he did Miracle, which is about the Olympic hockey team. And
against Canada, America versus Canada, I think, or something. Russia.
Right.
Yeah, Russia, the original. Oh no, Russia's like dirty Canada.
What's right, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and that's no offense to anybody's Russian, but also it. So it's not like we're keeping secrets from them.
They're advertising that.
So would you go work on it? So if you and John Bernthal, you guys are buddies, you get along well.
I love the guy. Yeah, I knew him. I liked him.
So that makes
it
fun.
Came really close with him on this movie. Yeah, we just hit it off really well, and it's like, I'm sure you experienced this like in your line of work. Like some people you kind of just hit it off with, it works, it's great. Like, oh my God, you don't even know kind of how it happens. And sometimes the chemistry is just not there.
This
you
guy,
know what
Tim
I mean?
Dillon. Have you ever seen Tim Dillon?
No, what about him?
Oh, you just got to watch him, dude. He's so funny. He's just one of the funniest guys they ever made. He just made me think like he's somebody that's really funny.
Right.
Shane Gillis.
Yeah, Shane Gillis is funny. But I mean, so what I'm saying, like for you personally, right? Like you might find that like you sitting down talking to somebody works, even if somebody's great, they might come in and you guys just don't hit it off, or you might be great together. In this case, I really felt like with John, like we got really lucky and we both kind of, it's like a two-hander. It's like a kind of odd couple sort of, because I'm very reserved, very straight. He's very tough and ballsy, and so like it, you know what I mean? And so we're kind of opposites, but we love each other, but we're kind of brothers. So we drive each other crazy and we're frustrated with each other. And there's kind of those things really, those kind of relationship dynamics and stories really depend on the chemistry you have. And John's a just amazing actor, but also it was great to work with him. And I love the guy. I respect him. He's a good man. He's a great father. He works hard. He's just everything. I've heard a lot
of neat things about him because he podcasts as well. You know, I think, or he has. He might have to take breaks from it if he's acting a lot. How long are you shooting something like that? And then are there phases during a movie shoot where it's like, it starts off, it's like, and you just kind of get burnt out? Like, is there a way to kind of?
Yeah, because the way they set it up is like, and I don't think this is like optimal necessarily, but because of it, how you got to get everybody together and, build the sets and do all this shit and all at once, you end up working like, 14, 16-hour days.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And, there is, it's a function of just some inefficiencies in the way it works. And sometimes just what you have to do. So you're constantly working on sort of all you're thinking about morning, noon, night, and you go home, go to sleep, wake up, go back to work. So you can get burnt out on it, but you can also with Accountant 2, it was like, it started to just work better and better than I thought. And so every day I was thrilled to go to work. You know what I mean? And I found as I get older, I'm like, I want to work with people that I really like.
Yeah.
Because like so much of your life is spent at work. That becomes kind of what, like, obviously, I have my family. That's the number one thing in my life. And I just make the time for that. I have my kids. I'm divorced. I have them, half the time. So I got them half the week. Then I'm like with them. The other part of my life I'm going to spend at work. And so I've realized, like, if I want my life to be, happy, I got to have fun, then I want to be working with people that I really like and respect and enjoy being around.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to choose that. Not everybody can. You get lucky, and so I was really lucky. I love John.
Have you ever made, because David Spade and I wrote a movie that we just shot a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was fascinating. I've just kind of learned about how to do it. Like, we've been friends for
How long did you shoot for?
4 years. We shot for 23 days, and we got
pretty quick.
It was quick. We got pushed by the fires, so everything kind of got messed up, and we kind of, not everything got messed up, but we got like sandwiched into moments where it was like, everybody's here, the winds are 40 miles an hour today. Oh, shit. We have to, we paid for it ourselves. So it was like, we have to do this.
You find out when people have your own money on something, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're going to do this. Like, people have a whole different attitude. Yeah. That's something I've found.
They're like, oh, we need a Dalmatian. I'm like, we don't have a Dalmatian. We'll fucking shave that sheep. and fucking staple some
fucking tattoo some spots on this motherfucker and shoot.
And with removable glue some Oreos to it and get that bastard out there. You know, teach it to bark. We have 40 minutes. Get on YouTube and teach that thing to bark. Have you ever made a movie that you didn't put out or that wasn't put out?
Oh yeah. Early on, I made a bunch of movies that were like independent movies that they didn't have like distribution. They didn't have like a studio that said, okay, we're paying for this, and when it's finished, we're going to put a bunch of money in advertising, because you got to spend a bunch more money to advertise a movie after you make it,
right?
And or at least and that's one of the big things that's changing now. People are like, okay, how can we do this in a more intelligent way? Because all that money spent on television commercials is just wasted now. That's why I'm here. Like, this is a much more effective way to do it. You know what I mean? And
yeah, dude, it seems exciting. Well, here's the thing. I think when you tell me that it's good, I honestly think that I believe you that it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm telling the truth. The movie's really good. I wouldn't be like, if you had a movie that wasn't good, you kind of do a few of the basic things, and because look, it's going to turn out like it's going to be a bell curve one way or the other. The better you are, you're going to move your bell curve a little bit further down and have a better chunk of movies. But I got about like 12 movies that I really love and I'm proud of, and about 25 that are like, I like this, I didn't like that, and about 10 or 12, whatever, that are like, that's fucking terrible. I hate this. I can't watch it. And it was awful. And when I did independent movies, sometimes they just didn't get distribution. Like, no one wanted to put it out, or I went to a film festival. I haven't had movies that were so like just something so terrible happened when the studio already was making it that it wasn't put out. But you have like, they changed their plan. You can kind of see, oh, now we're going to shift to this or that. Now you can put something on streaming and it used to be like you were going to go out theatrical, so you kind of were like naked. You just had your, you know what I mean? And if it didn't work, everybody knew, because they say, look, this movie made 10 cents this weekend. And, you'd want them to take the fucking billboard down. You drive past the billboard like, the billboard's like, here's the bomb, the movie's a bomb. You know what I mean?
You're up there at night in your Batman costume, just painting over it with a big one of those big paint reachers. Dude, did you ever see Family Man? Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
I love that movie, man. That's like one of my, Family Man I liked really a lot. Dunkirk I liked. I thought was cool.
Movie. Chris Nolan's a brilliant guy. Tell me about your movie with Dave Spade. Who do you play? Like, what is it comedy?
Yeah, it's just bus boys. It's like he's like a guy. He's just like, we're just two kind of dumb guys or whatever. We just got the first edit through, so it's like I'm watching it right now.
Let me tell you, like that first cut of the movie, and like when I see the first cut of my own movie, I want to kill myself.
Really?
So like, you should not go crazy seeing the first cut and not like it. I almost have never, like, now I have a company and we make a bunch of movies, and the first cut, this is one of the only movies where the first cut came in, I was like, it's great.
Really?
90% of the time you're like, okay, we got a long way to go. It's a very iterative process. They get better, and more work is done after you finish shooting to make it good.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So
I'm meeting with an editor next week.
Sit down and be like, this is what's supposed to be funny about this scene. Right. Like, and explain it to them what you think is funny and is good, because it may seem obvious to you and it probably doesn't to that person. Like, you can lose track. You go, look, the reason it's funny is because you think we're going to do this. We know this about us from the first, whatever scene. And when it come in, it's that take where I like yelled at the guy. That should be a surprise. Like, you'd be surprised how often it's hard to put a cut. Go in and tell them.
It's been tough because I've been spending my nights like watch, and now
it feels shitty too to put all that work into it and look at it and go, the fuck is this? Right? Dude, it's the worst feeling in the world.
It feels fucking horrible because it's like I'm very particular about like what I create. Like you said in the beginning, it's like I like to make things. I know what I want. It's like I know my intuition, and if I fail on my intuition, then that's exactly where I want to fail because that's pure to me, right? Like that's okay.
Yeah, and like that's what you want to do. Great,
right?
But it's a very tricky thing for other people
to know
like
that.
Get you,
yes,
and to know, you know what I mean. Your sense of humor, your worldview is all obvious to you, right? Yeah. But it's just not to people. So a lot of times you have to spend more time than you would have thought, literally going, here's what should be funny. Right. If you can explain the joke, like you're a super funny guy, funny comedian, you understand comedy very well, so you can sit and break it down to him and go like, you got to know this about it. What's funny is that, we didn't expect me to do this,
right?
Or that's a callback to this other moment, or the whole thing that when I did it, what I thought was funny is this take where I did that. Like, because on the set, I'm sure, if you're doing a comedy and you shot it, you had moments where you were like, that's funny, right? I think that's funny. I think that's good.
Yeah.
sometimes it's literally about going back into the dailies and saying, like, okay, go find the close-up or find this 2-shot. Or the thing where I said to David, and David looked at me like this, and whatever. That was the one where I left and thought, that works. Like, there's no mystery or magic to why they're doing it a different way. They oftentimes just need feedback. This is not like sculpting or writing a novel. It's not a single person, it's collaborative. It has to be collaborative, right? If I'm directing a movie with you in it, and it obviously is going to have your comic sensibility, like, I got to know and get what's funny to you, or I'm not the guy.
Right.
And I'm going to need help along the way. Any director is going like, so how come, what do you imagine about this? Or what do you think, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you have to explain it and sort of talk about it, because that person's got to understand all those things that made you be funny in the first place and start going, oh, people are laughing when I say, oh, these are funny. You know what I mean? And you've put it together and professionalized it. But like, you got to share that with them. Otherwise, really. And then this is also where people sometimes get into fights, of course, because people's ego gets in the way. But ego will kill you. You have to be able to hear, I don't care what you do. You have to be able to hear, like, this doesn't work. This is dog shit. Because the audience will tell you. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. And it's like, I'm not particular, but I just know what kind of has worked, Like,
that's valuable because not everybody does. So what you have, right, is that awareness. You don't think about it. You feel it, right? You're like, that feels funny. Or when you see something, you're like, that feels wrong. Like, makes you uncomfortable, right? You see.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that's unique to you, right? So you need to, like, give them access to that and get it. And when and if somebody's going to, like, take it personal, it's not personal. Like, it's your, and what David thought was funny, like, okay, like, you have to be connected in that way, and you have to understand that it's not about, like, okay, fuck you guys, now I'm gonna go make my vision of this thing.
No.
That's a disaster.
No. I just think, like, this is why this was written this way, and this is why it's funny. And so this is the first time that we're, like, more hands-on with it.
Well, then you should definitely be hands-on, because, by the way, no one's gonna do it for you.
Right. Oh, I agree with that too.
On its own, man. It's gonna get better if you get in and work on it. And by the way, you're gonna see it again, and you're gonna have to go, okay, closer. Now let's try this. Let's try that. And then again, the way movies get better really is iterative. It's like coats of paint. You know what I mean? You got to keep on going. It's like a good paint job on a car. It's like 12 coats of paint. That's why it looks good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Do movies take a long time to edit sometimes?
Yeah, 26 weeks is the post-production schedule for most movies, right? That includes music.
That's half
and
of
sound
1 year.
mixing. Yeah. And it's longer than the production schedule. You're trying to grab everything you can during production. It's more expensive every day to shoot. Editing is, you rent the editing room, the facilities.
We needed an owl one day. We had an owl, right? This bitch, it was $1,100 an hour.
For an owl?
Yeah, it was like a semi-endangered. I don't want to say endangered or whatever, but it was like
Do they charge more if it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you can get a chicken, they're not endangered. You can kill that chick, just cut its head off. That's $10.
Like,
but for the owl,
you can get a tall chicken.
No one's going to know the difference. You can take the chicken and break its neck and it's turned around.
You can get a tall, curious chicken. We'll give you that.
And so I think maybe that's just like one of those things where it's like, what's the rate for owls? You just get to make it up if you sell owls.
It's just it's like, God, you get into there and there's just all this animal entrapment. What else was I thinking about? Would you let your children, I want to talk to you a little bit more about directing. So, because Argo you directed. Mm-hmm. Right? And did you care about the Middle East that much? Were you like a Middle East guy? I knew I've read some.
Not really. I did study the Middle East in school, and so I understood about it. I wouldn't make a movie that I didn't. It'd be like making a movie with you and not getting your humor, right? Like, it would just be crazy. Like, as the director, you got to care more, be more interested in that movie than everybody else. Everyone else is going to be bored of it, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to love it the whole time through. So the big key is like, this is going to be interesting to me. There was a lot of things that were interesting to me about that movie. One was the real story, the CIA agent who had done it, the people that I met and talked to at the CIA, the actual nature of like intelligence work versus, what you have seen with like super spy shit. That's not really realistic. And this story was really interesting to me. And also I thought it was like the fact that they had this like bizarre connection to Hollywood and this Hollywood makeup artist, and that we were trying to bridge those two worlds was really interesting to me. But it was a scary, challenging movie because the director's main job is tone. Right, like that's the main. That's what the director is going to really create is like, what's the tone of this? Like, what's the vibe? Is this serious? What are we interested in? Like, what do we consider funny? What do we, all those things that go into all the choices we make in life, from the car you get, the clothes you buy, all that. What is your taste? And not everyone's going to like it, right? Some people, it's just not going to be their taste. You got to at least make it as good as you can to your own taste, to, like you said, your own instincts.
Yeah, you got to find that tone that matches, because people want to believe they're going to expect a certain tone from you as well. I think
Yeah, and when that tone doesn't work, you're like, this is kind of crass, this cheese is fucking, you know what I mean, corny. It's like it seems silly or whatever, and it's like because you're asking someone to take something seriously that they can't take seriously, or think is funny that they don't think is funny, and that's where it's a tricky kind of nebulous job, but that's the most interesting to me, important thing about it, and that's yeah, you know.
Would you let your children act, do you think?
Well, I wouldn't let them act professionally while they were children, no. But I would let, you know, if they want to do plays and shit and make their own kind of stuff with their friends, that's fine with me. I don't think it would be, I don't know judgment against people that do it. I've done playing movies with, you know, child actors and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine. From my experience, acting as a kid and what I want for my children is not that. But also you got to understand that then they, you know, I got a 19-year-old, I got one 16, I got one 13.
Oh, wow.
They can make their own choices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true, right? As a dad, you just like, is that got to be tough when you're a dad. Like, you kind of have already lived some life, so you were like, and not even about acting, it's about anything. And then your kid is kind of like making it, like, is that, and you don't want to like probably push them too much, or like, because then you're pressure some dude. That's got to be a real, like, walking a police line or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole job of life. It's like, for me, before I had kids, you know, I didn't really realize what my life was about. And then this becomes the central challenge of your life. And if you have everybody has complications and tricky shit in their life, and that's part of being a parent, is managing that with what kind of life am I bringing my kids into, making a good life for my children. How do you know? And that's part of that. Is my kids are growing up out here in LA. I didn't grow up in LA. I never met a famous person or an actor or anything. That shit just seemed like a million miles away to me, and totally
for sure. If you're in the rest of the world, it feels so far away, and then you forget after you're here for a while how far away it seems to other people. Like, if you meet, you know, like just anybody who was in, and it just like, that's like, it was a.
Dude, I remember I was 12 years old in Boston, and I saw Christopher Lloyd, who played the dude on Back to the Future, you know?
Yeah.
And I saw him walking down the street. I think he was doing a play. Yeah, exactly. I followed the guy for like 6 blocks. Like, now I'd be like, there's this fucking 12-year-old kid following me, right? You know what I mean? Like, I stalked him. Like, I couldn't believe it that it was the guy from Back to the Future. I lost my mind.
Yeah.
And it was the only, you know, celebrity, famous, whatever person I'd ever seen or know. And so my kids are now, they're seeing different stuff. Some of it's useful for them because it disabuses them of some illusions that I think are worth being disabused of. And also, but I'm also like, I don't, look, they're going to, their kids are going to kind of be and do who they are, what they want to do, which your job is to let them know that they're loved, that keep them safe, you know, provide them opportunities, and also not, you know, you got to resist the temptation to try to get everything out of the way for them, because you're not going to learn anything or develop any grit or resilience if shit's just easy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never even thought about that. It's like you're watching them walk, and there's something kind of in their path, and if you take it away completely, then they're not going to learn how to deal with an obstacle. Yeah. But if you leave it there, then you're going to have to watch them go through an obstacle. That's got to be crazy.
And it's like hard watching your kids, like even trying to climb over something. Your instinct is to pick them up, take them over, but you have to, like, yes, you don't want them to put their finger in a socket, you know what I mean, or off a cliff, but that doesn't mean life has to be hard.
Yeah.
It has to be difficult in some ways. It doesn't have to be, shouldn't be traumatic, shouldn't be, you know, awful or painful, but things have to be hard for you to learn to do hard things.
Yeah.
And this world, like it or not, is going to demand that you do hard shit. If you want to have anything, you know, if you want to be able to provide for your own family, have your own dreams, have, you know, the things that you want to have, because if you don't do it, the guy next to you is going to do it better, or, you know, or the woman over here is going to do it better, and you're going to lose out.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I don't want my kids to have that first big, tough experience in life and like kind of fall apart. You know, you got it. Like, some of the best lessons I ever learned in life were from failure. In fact, for sure, I didn't learn much from success. I learned a lot from failure. You know what I mean? But the most important thing you learn is that you can survive it. You can be okay.
Yeah.
It can knock you the fuck down. And it's like getting, like when I was a kid where I grew up, I mean, we used to get in fights all the time.
Oh,
fight
yeah,
all the time.
Dude. People
and you found
used
out
to
that
beat the shit out of me.
You get punched in the face, you get your ass kicked, and that's not, and then you'd be like, yeah, he kicked your ass. And you go like, and you get up, and you come to school the next day, and you know what I mean? It's kind of like
a tough day, dude. That
it's
first
tough.
day was so tough.
Yeah,
they're like, damn, Randy kicked
I know.
your ass.
It's worse that you have to hear about it than
Yeah.
like just getting hit 5 times. It's like, yeah, you kind of get your bell rung, you know what I mean? But it's the like, that's kind of going back to that thing about like embarrassment. Like kids will suffer more from being humiliated than physically hurt. For example, like that's the shit that really is painful. But no, I don't wish, to be clear, that on my kid. Like, you don't need to be fighting and shit all the time.
No.
But it's, you know, it is valuable to know that you can fail or have something difficult happen, really painful, or get your heart broken. Have some girl be like, I don't like, you know what I mean, embarrass you, whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. These things are not going to kill you. In fact, they actually do make you stronger if you kind of go like, okay, that was tough. If I didn't have some of the resilience that I picked up by, my early life trying to, see, I would have just kind of given up or collapsed or had movies are bad. People say bad shit. I'd be like, and I'd fall down and never get up again.
Yeah, you'd have no experience, and it sharpens your intuition. You start to, it all learns. It is, if you can see yourself as a tool. Sometimes it's definitely harder when you're younger because some of those feelings are new and it hurts so much, Here's
the thing, getting better at anything really never feels good. Like if you're building resilience, it's not a time that you're liking. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't feel good. Like, so that's when, okay, I don't like this. This feels like shit, but because it's hard, because I can't lift these weights anymore, because I can't, these other, I'm exhausted and the other kids are still, running sprints or whatever, but like those are the moments, for what it's worth, where you're getting better.
What is, what's something that you admire about each of your children, just so one day they can look back and is that uncomfortable?
God. I mean, the thing that I care most about, and it's true of all 3 of my kids, is that all of them have like an innate like goodness of character, like a kindness. They're not trying to go out and hurt other people. They have empathy. Like they care about and respect other people. Doesn't mean, that obviously they don't make mistakes or they're perfect or whatever, but basic thing about them is really, really important. I think it's definitely also credit to their mom, who's amazing and who's spectacular and is great. Like, we're divorced, but we I think do pretty good together, raising the kids, going back and forth and all that stuff. And they're all, look, I think, like any parent, you're gonna be like, my kid's so cool. And I
feel like something you admire, like individually about them, that's maybe unique. And
I think my oldest kid, no, not at all. Listen,
okay.
I think truly, there's so much that I just don't want to come off. And I know my kids will be like, Dad, don't fucking go on there and talk about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so my son
fair.
especially is like, dude, he's right now watching this like, oh no. But here's the truth. My oldest one has got a beautiful like commitment and sense of like wanting to make the world truly a better place. And she'll put her money where her mouth is. Like, she doesn't want to do something she's not asking other people to do. She makes personal sacrifices. She has that kind of integrity. My middle child is really is this incredible, like, feels things deeply, like artist, kind of is brilliant and so funny. And my son has got like this incredible like joy of life and magnetism and sweetness and goodness to him. And like, that's the stuff where it's like, whether you can like dunk a basketball or write a great paper, like, great. And I'm not, but like that's the shit that to me is more important, that like kind of internal character stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. That's nice, man. Yeah, it's nice to hear dads talk about their kids, I think sometimes you just don't hear it enough sometimes,
I agree. I think it's so important. Like, it's the most important thing in the world.
There's not as many male leaders, there's not as many male teachers as there were. There's not as many, like there's a space where we're missing a gap of mentorship from male to male, because a lot of people, some people were pedophiles, whatever, but outside of those people, it's like there's not as many.
Let's rule those fuckers out.
Yeah, right? Those guys are out. Well, also, anybody paparazzi who's driving around taking pictures of kids, anybody else would be arrested for taking a photo of a kid in public.
Yeah. But I think absolutely boys need important male leaders, and so do girls. Like, you need to see that there's good men. You need to understand that good men are accountable. They tell the truth. They can say they're sorry when they make a mistake. They're strong. You can rely on them. They're funny, like that. They can show you strength and love and all this stuff that is good and beautiful, and the people you want to be drawn to in your future life about masculinity. You want to know and see that modeled. And if you don't, first of all, there are children who are expecting, because we're as children expecting to have that.
It's
If you
important.
don't, it fucks you up. And if you don't see what that looks like, you don't know kind of what to look for.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, dude. Did you have a fun, like, do you have a memory of your dad that was like fun for you? I'm trying to think of one. My dad was like, my dad was really old when I was born. And so my dad was 70 when I was born, right? He was born in 1910.
Dad was a serious guy.
Yeah, I wish he had some money, which was crazy. Because usually if a woman's hooking up with an older guy, he's got some money.
Dude. What did your dad have going for him?
It was not money,
Was it
dude.
money? He must have been charming.
He didn't have a bank. He was very charming. My dad was very, very charming. But he would like take me to the he would like go sometimes have a beer by like this bar at the railroad tracks, and he would like let me walk on the bar. And they had like these little bowl of chocolates or whatever. And if the bartender, I remember if I danced good, she would like give me some of the chocolates or whatever. And he'd be like, go wiggle for chocolates or whatever. And I just remember, I think.
You like when my dad pimped me out. That was a good time.
Yeah. Well, he was just pimping me for confections, or sugars, It was kind of an outtake from that movie Chocolat, if you've ever seen that. But yeah, he would be like, go wiggle for chocolates. And I just remember that was one thing that I remember. Anyway, sorry, I made that about me.
It was nice to take that walk down memory lane.
Yeah,
with
it's
you. I
fun.
enjoyed it.
Well, there's things I remember about it, like the bowls of peanuts and just like being at a bar like at like 5 p.m. because my dad was older. He would go to rest. He would rest pretty early. But
I remember, that's funny because I was going to say, I don't have that kind of memories of my dad really. But the truth is, like, after he got out of the house, as a kid, he worked at bars. And so that's where I'd go see him, up at the bars. And he was like a bookie and, taking bets on the side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit. And he was, but that's what he did. He was bartender. And then for that period of life when I was kind of 8, 9, 10, 11,
did they have a
12,
jukebox
whatever.
in there or anything?
They had a jukebox, and then he'd be like, "Oh, go get the cigarette machine." And I went in the bar, and it was cool to visit him in there.
Remember the cigarette machine? They had that pull out
you could
thing?
pull on them.
Yeah.
And, but that was the days when they'd be like, tell you the kid, like, go to the store and get me some cigarettes. You walk in, 8 years old, buy cigarettes. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also we were, my brother would go up to the bar.
Yeah.
And there was some, I do have some kind of fond memories of that. I wish I had more of them, which is one of the reasons why it's important for me in my life to make sure I don't that I create those for my own children.
Yeah, I think that's something that we probably learn, as we go along. I want to tell you about True Classic. God, you want to feel good? You want to feel something good on your body and look good to people? True Classic, the official basics wear partner of the UFC, has one mission: to make sure guys look good and feel even better. They've nailed fit, feel, and price across your entire wardrobe. Not just tees, but hoodies, jeans, gym gear, everything you need to level up your everyday style. I've been wearing True Classics and I enjoy them. From the first piece I put on, I said, okay, daddy's home. I knew it was different. Snug where you want it, relaxed where you need it. No weird bunching, no awkward tight spots. Forget overpriced designer nonsense. Skip the cheap throwaways. True Classic delivers premium essentials built for real life. Grab yours at Target or Costco, or head to trueclassic.com/THEO to get hooked up today. That's trueclassic.com/Theo. I am excited actually to get a hold of Nutrafol. That's something I've got coming in the mail to me, because I've still got enough hair to need a cut, and I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it healthy. Nutrafol Men, that's who I ordered from. You may have heard of Nutrafol's hair growth supplements and wondered, do they actually work? Well, it's a fair question. Many hair supplements overpromise and underdeliver, but Nutrafol is different. As the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, it's trusted by over 1.5 million people, and is clinically tested to deliver real results in just 3 to 6 months. Nutrafol Men is clinically proven to improve hair growth and quality. Plus, men also reported no impact to sexual performance. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code Theo. Find out why Nutrafol is the leading hair growth supplement brand on the market at Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men. Promo code Theo. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code Theo. What else is something I want to ask you about? Was it weird? Were you famous before your brother was famous? Is that a weird question?
Not at all. I guess, yeah, a little bit, like in the sense that he was in Good Will Hunting with me and Matt, and he was fucking brilliant in it. And then, but like anybody, like, and Matt's like, who's like, my best friend as a kid and stuff, like Matt Damon, you had like, and he got more famous of Good Will Hunting, and then my brother, so you kind of, and people, if you really like try to map it out, like those sort of how famous are, which is kind of a weird and a hard thing to tell.
I agree.
It kind of moves around, but my brother was always a working actor, and then he became, he really established himself, of course, won the Oscar for acting, and kind of established himself as a great actor, and
what's the one
had a
they
more
did
steady kind of
in
arc.
Pittsburgh, remember, with Michelle?
You're talking about Manchester by the Sea. Yeah, that's what he won the Oscar for. He's amazing in that movie. Yeah.
God, it was so good. Is it I just always
he's a great actor, my brother.
Is it are you guys pretty close?
We are, we're close. He's got great kids. I love his kids, and he's a great guy. And
I guess you get through phases in life too, where you're kind of like you're kind of doing the same thing, or you're just in different spaces.
Well, that's what happens when you kind of really like get a little older, and then we were like, it was up to 30 or whatever. I was just like hanging out with guys all the time. You know what I mean? We were going out, we're doing this, or whatever, and that was kind of life, most of it. And so you see all your friends all the time. And my brother's one of the, we'd all hang out, and then you have kids, you have family, and then it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have Friday at 5 or whatever from 7 and then you kind of have to, you lose a little bit of that bigger network of like, who are the, like, I know who 10 of these guys are, who are the other 6, that starts to kind of go away, and you kind of have to be more selective. But my brother is a brilliant, funny, amazing guy, and his kids are, it's a joy to see his kids grow up and be,
being an uncle's fun.
Oh, it's the best. Because then you can kind of just like let them do shit. You don't have to be really the dad.
I'll tell you this. So there was, I live in Nashville, so I moved there about 4 years ago, and so the other night there's like tornadoes or something, and I didn't know, and I live in it's a nice neighborhood, but it's nothing crazy. It's not like rich enough where you're away from tornadoes,
You better be how rich you have to be to get away from tornadoes?
I don't know. I'm still in the wind district, So there's a freaking tornado warning. There's sirens going off over town. I didn't even know we had sirens. So I'm texting my nephew. Thank God I called him twice. And then finally I texted him. I was like, dude, I was like, bro, tornado warning. What do I do? And he's in middle school or whatever. And thank God he's like, get under your desk. That's what he fucking says at 4 a.m. And I was like, dude, I don't have a fucking desk. You know what I'm saying? And he goes, don't curse at me over text. And I'm like, this fucking kid does not know how to support a family member. It's just like
that's what he's. That's hilarious.
Anyway, I don't even know what I told you that story about. What were we talking about? Weather?
I don't know.
But family members.
Oh yeah,
and what it's like to be an uncle. Yeah. I get to see my nieces, and they're coming for Easter tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. But being an uncle is so much fun.
How many nieces and nephews you got?
I got 5 total. One of them just went to prom, so I got to be there when she took pictures. I was in Baton Rouge for that.
Oh, that's great.
It's fun, and you kind of get to be like a little bit of the confidant, like you're kind of like on the edge of dad.
Because they'll tell you stuff that's kind of like, you can't talk to your parents about like whatever, some things, but you can kind of let, the uncle kind of know, and so you can be kind of on the side a little bit, a little cooler, even if you're really not that much cool, and they're like, fucking don't try to play it off like that. But you kind of get away with it a little bit, and, you got to like, you can't push it, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's
and you got to know when to snitch too on them too, and tell the dad what's going on.
Exactly.
Did you, let me think about a movie thing. Oh, did you get to keep your Batman outfit?
I did. Yeah, I did. In fact, that's at our office, and it's one of those things people like. It's like it's one of those things that sort of like, I don't know. People like to see it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Planet Hollywood a little bit. So I'm always like, oh, we got this rubber bat suit here. It's just, but it's like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, look, I get it. That's a kind of a cool movie souvenir. Sometimes I feel like if you put a grapefruit on like TV every week, you know what I mean? And then you just put it to the mall, people will go by and be like, oh, there's that grapefruit from TV. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes hard to tell whether something's interesting because it's interesting or because, but I can see how that is kind of interesting. The most interesting thing about it when people see it is like, damn, how do you wear this? And it's true. It is like, of all those type of roles and stuff, like the superhero thing, the outfits make it a lot harder to do your job because you're kind of constrained and they're real hot. It's like, you know, when like wrestlers, like when I was a kid, used to run around with like trash bags to lose weight because you just dump all the water. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of what those outfits do.
Oh, yeah. You'd see like some guy just with his, you'd see some guy in your neighborhood who's on the wrestling team or whatever. I didn't know they
wrestlers, exactly.
had a wrestling team and then he's running down the street
right
like a California
trying
raisin.
To lose, exactly, 15 pounds in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
He's just spitting on his family members and he's just cursing because they say cursing helps you burn calories or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But you never like put it back on for anything fun or to surprise family members?
I did it for my kid's birthday when he was, my son's birthday. And he was a little young, but it was fun. I got the pictures now. Now he's like, I guess that was cool that you did that. At the time, I didn't know what the fuck you were doing. And I'm like, but it was cool though. Do I get credit for it now? He's like, I guess. He barely, but I had fun. And that was the whole reason I did it. Like, I'm gonna be Batman. My son, like, how cool is it your dad's Batman? My son was like, 3 and shit. And so he was like scared of the movie. But since then it's like it's become kind of, in retrospect, I think kind of cool. It's hard to tell what your kids think is cool because most of the time they're kind of like,
Yeah, they don't really tell you kind of, because it's almost like you're like, I don't know. I just watched my brother have nephews. Like, I want to get a wife and children. I don't have a wife yet, but look,
your parents are never going to be like, because like part of the thing is like, you can't like, you need to separate from your parents, right? You need to like move away, get out of the house, that whole thing, like move on, become your own man and all that stuff. And if you're too wrapped up in like your folks and, you can, it gets in the way of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You got to start to slowly separate in those ways that kids do.
So there's part of it where they're like, and it comes off like, where I'm like, hey, you guys want to play some game? Like, close the door. Yeah. Get out of my room. Close the room. Like, just leave. You know what I mean?
Oh, and then there's that moment. It's the first time you kind of close the door, and there's that moment where the dad's just by the door and he's kind of sad, like, but he's in the hall. But then he goes in his room. He takes 3 steps and he's like, oh, good, I got some free time.
Actually,
but there is that moment.
It is, absolutely. And they come back around. You know what I mean?
Do you think I auditioned for a Project Greenlight movie that you guys had years ago?
Really?
Yeah, it was one where there was like a guy in a wheelchair and there were like dangerous people were coming in, like you were trapped in a bar or something.
Feast, maybe the horror movie. Yeah.
I just remembered that. That's
Your
crazy.
audition for it? Really?
Yeah. Oh, I was not any good.
Wow.
I'm not a good actor. I would not. I think it's a bad idea to do that. I just. But anyway, I just remember that it popped in my head. Do you still have Project Greenlight?
It's no, it's not. I mean, it's not currently. We did it with the company. We haven't, but we are not doing it now. And we took it. We had it on for a while back then, and then brought it back. And it's interesting. I really liked it, and I thought it was interesting that because that's what I do, and I know that's tricky. Like, it's hard. You get all this drama that comes up on a movie, but when we had like $1 million to make the movie, and everybody like $1 million, like that's like nothing. And now it's almost setting people up. It would kind of just be like, then you just be doing a show about people getting in arguments and smashing things and having a breakdown because you can't really even do it for $1 million.
Yeah,
like
times have changed.
Unions and wages and all that stuff. Like but I really liked that idea of that show and what we were able, because to me it was about like also creating opportunities for people that are outside Hollywood, who could come in and be like, look, I know what I'm doing. I want to do something. And then you got to like, okay, well, let's see what you can do.
What, do you think Tom Brady's good as an announcer?
Yeah, I think Tom's good as an announcer. I think he's, look.
Me too, dude.
I think he's really smart, obviously, about football. I think that like it's a people kind of, you're the greatest quarterback who ever lived. They think, well, okay, now he's going to come in and change broadcasting for good. And like just being a normal human being seems kind of like, I mean, who do you want to listen to analyze something? Like if I want to like somebody tell me about like a concert, like I want to hear from, some great musician, if you figure, well, nobody's going to have better or wiser analysis analysis than
Than the
Tom.
guy.
It's maybe not about like telling jokes or whatever. That's something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so.
But he's a surgeon. He seems like a surgeon when he's talking about it, and the way he breaks down certain moments and how long it takes to do certain things. He's like, well, they got about this many yards. They're gonna have to move about this many yards a second. Like he's definitely. You start to see who he really is.
Like how much analysis went into that. I still think one of his like real. Like one of the things that really separated him, because everybody knows about how like he was like drafted late and all this stuff, like, and his like combine numbers weren't like all that stuff. People weren't just like, this guy's gonna be amazing. I feel like one of the things that he has that people don't really talk about is like, and this is so fucking important, is like I feel like he has this thing where he doesn't get tight. He just doesn't get nervous. Like I think that there is a huge advantage. Imagine like you're in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and it's like 4th and 8, and you got 7
you don't
seconds
get
or whatever,
nervous,
and
you
you're
win.
You're good. Everyone else's heart rate is banging their head, adrenaline.
I think it's what makes actors good too. Good actors at certain moments.
Getting relaxed, the ability to relax in tense situations where other people get tense, because tension and stress, it locks you up. You panic. It's like everything. It's all bad.
Oh,
right?
It's horrible. That's when, dude, it's definitely, there's moments. The first time I'd ever audition, I was like, open the windows. And like, there's not a lot of windows in here. And they're like, they're already open. I remember I was kept blacking out. And then I had to like do some scene that I didn't even care about. What are we doing here? Why are we doing that? I'm sorry. That was not a plan. Oh yeah, dude, I want to tell you about, you ever see that Dunkin' Donuts commercial? Because I know you did a commercial with them.
Yeah.
You ever see the one where they shut down that one and is it Boy Shoboik?
What is it? Play it.
Shamokin.
Dunkin's closed by fire.
Favorite, dude.
A coffee shop in Shamokin is closed following an arson over the weekend. Police say a teenager is responsible for all that damage. News Watch 16's Nikki Kreiz joins us live from the Central Pennsylvania newsroom with more tonight. Nikki?
Julie, a lot of people in Shamokin are upset that Dunkin' Donuts is closed because they didn't have anywhere else to go for coffee and donuts. Today we also learned new information about the teenage girl police charged with setting the place on fire. Setting the fire is currently at a juvenile detention center. Many people who live in Shamokin are upset that Dunkin' Donuts is closed.
Now I have to rely on myself to go to maybe a Turkey Hill or something where I don't like their donuts. I rather the donuts at Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm kind of dealing with it, but I really miss Dunkin' Donuts.
I go there every day. I get a chicken bacon croissant, or I get some coffee, Powerade if I'm dehydrated. I sit there all the time. If I have any legal work that I need to do, I go there. I meet with my attorneys there.
I'm gonna miss that place when it don't open up. Yeah, a lot of my friends go in there, get the cold coffee, iced coffee, I guess it's called.
People miss their local hangout and hope Dunkin' Donuts
Anyway, that's just it. That
soon.
when that one closed down, man, it was just like a real. People kind of went bananas on the
because
internet.
it turns out, guys, that's the legal clinic got shut down
That's
too.
the best
My
part.
man was
I would sit there with my
do my
attorneys.
legal work. My probation officer meets me in there. I usually deal out of that place. Like, all right,
Yeah, you don't know when a Dunkin' Donuts closes down. You don't realize how many lives intersect in that one
community
place.
is paralyzed. Yeah.
What's something else that you want to direct, man? Where is there something? What about you directing Timothy Chalamet? That'd be so dope.
Oh, he's a terrific actor, man. He's great. And I think, and that's really what you kind of like, no matter what you do, a big part of it is, 90% of it is they say, is like picking the right actors. Cause there's really nothing you can do. You're kind of like, okay, now go ahead and you can, get about 10% calibration, but the right people for the right role is so much a part of what goes into directing. It's what I was talking about, like kind of understanding what people sort of think about or assumptions they have about actors that they are going to watch. There's a lot of actors that I would love to work with that I haven't worked with. I'm lucky to have worked with some great ones so far. And I have a movie that I've just finished shooting called Animals. That's
and it's your own movie?
It'll be out on Netflix that I directed.
Let's go. Congrats, dude.
Yeah, and I may even direct another movie next year, which is actually pretty quick, but it's not all set up yet. But it's something that I really love doing, and I will do it, like, especially like as I got one kid that's in college now, and the other two, like by the time my son who's 13 goes to college, then I plan on kind of just directing all the time. But like I said, it takes so much focus and energy that one of the regrets I have even about movies that I really like and I'm proud of is like what periods of time that I miss with my kids because that just doesn't come back.
You almost have to plan ahead. Like, okay, maybe they're going to be on a semester abroad, or this is going to be going on. Or like this last one,
like I do them in LA. You know what I mean? So I'm not traveling. So I can be home for dinner and come. And just make that the priority. But it's a part of why I slow down a bunch from directing, because it just, in order to do it in the way that I understood that it required, like it just requires almost total commitment and concentration.
Yeah, man, because we got to keep telling good stories because it's important. That's how people learn things, and that's how you remember things, and they become part of, like, history. They really kind of tell history a lot of times. Yeah, it's definitely interesting about you said something about the shooting in Hollywood has become so tough, huh? But it's supposed to be getting easier.
Well, it's tricky because one of the things that's happened is that, like, first of all, movies just used to be made here, like, country music was made in Nashville,
everywhere.
Right? Like that's how it was. And then you had other states and countries that started kind of offering incentives because they felt like, if we bring this business here and like it stimulates all our other businesses, because there's this huge kind of trickle down effect from the restaurants to the dry cleaners to drivers to blah 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 blah, all this money into the economy. And LA or California didn't really, I think, whatever, I'm not sure they didn't respond or try to compete. They have a small incentive now, and they've actually broadened it some, and I think they're aware of it, but it's tricky. Whereas other states, and they're kind of controversial. Some states have felt like they worked out for them and they're happy. Georgia's got a huge incentive program. They get a lot of Marvel movies shoot down there. I got a place in Georgia, and I filmed in Georgia. It's in fact, The Count we filmed in Georgia, and that's why, right? They start offering these incentives. Obviously, been successful for Georgia.
It's like California has ego about it in some weird way. It's hard to figure out.
Yeah, I don't really know enough about the politics of it to know. It seems to me like, and I think it's like, well, we've always had it here. We don't have to give the incentives. Like that's what's pulling people away.
But it's like at a certain point you have to.
But now everybody's moved and moving away and moving around. And if you can't make a movie without the crew is what's going to make or break your movie.
Now you have 3,000 people flying to like Tibet or whatever to shoot for,
Like the UK, they do these big readers. So it's like
Louisiana did it for
Harry
a long
Potter
time.
movies and all the DC movies, all these. This stuff goes and shoots like out of the country. Look, I obviously selfishly, like, this is where my kids are. So this is where I want to be. But also the best technicians, I believe, in the world by and large are here, and they're really artists too. And
they're ready to work too. A lot of them,
they've
been
waiting.
Work.
And look, you have these fires and all this stuff. It's like, but look, it's hard all over, and I get it. I don't begrudge anybody anything. I would like to preserve, like, look, it's a big business for this country, right? Like show business. This is something that we make that everybody buys all over the world.
Oh, for
sure. We
sure.
buy a lot of shit from other countries, right? Like this is something that people want to buy from us.
Well, I'm amazed that I was talking about this with somebody, and it may have been, damn, I can't remember. My brain's off on the weekend, but we're talking about how California hasn't really done a great job of like kind of museuming some of a lot of great parts about that were in movies, and like, Sidney Poitier, this is where he lived for 20 years, or, this is the Bad News Bears Park where they play. Like
the Brady Bunch house.
Right. There's some of it, and it's like bits and pieces on the internet, but it doesn't seem as preserved. Like when you get here, you almost think it would seem like more of a museum in itself, the city.
Because at the time, I think people just didn't think about it, or somebody's house they rented, or whatever it was. Yeah. But yeah, they haven't really, you can do some of these tours and stuff, but it's kind of like, I think California, I still feel like, even though I'm a resident now, like that, I'm from somewhere else, from Boston.
Dude.
And
we'll
so
say, for sure, Massachusetts.
Like California is like, is felt, I think, in a way like, hey, people come here. Right. You know what I mean? So we don't need to bring people here, but like times are changing. Movie business, like you say, is changing. It's theatrical business is changing. It's all, the number you're looking at, one thing that people watch more than anything else, which is
fires at Dunkin' Donuts,
YouTube.
For
exactly.
Sure. But Accountant 2 is in.
Accountant 2 is out in theaters on Friday, and
this Friday.
Yes, see it. Go out and see it. And it's great. Movie's really good.
Do I take a date? Do I take my cousin? Who do I take?
Take your whole family, everybody you know. Actually, the truth is a movie that anybody can see. Like, my kids can see. Real accountants better like it. That's the core. If accountants don't like it, we're so fucked. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Your balance sheet
you're going to call
done.
the movie The Waiter, and waiters don't go. You think anyone else is coming? But it's a movie that I think honestly like works for it's it's smart and it's not like, oh, well, only young people like this or only old people like this. It's got everything. It's hard to make a movie that I think strikes this chord and kind of works for a broad audience, and it is better seeing it in the theater. So, and it's one that I'll be willing to leverage my kind of personal word and credibility on. Like, go see it. You won't regret it. It's really good.
You heard that. Ben Affleck, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in and just sharing and thinking with me and just having a good time.
Thanks for having me, man. This was cool.
We're excited. I promise that I'll go see it. And
thank you.
And I think a lot of people will.
I hope so. Listen, a lot of people listen to the show, so I appreciate it very, very much.
We'll
Thanks
see.
for having me.
Tell your son I said hello.
I will, dude.
Bet.
That's right there. That's the whole reason for coming right there. That makes me cool right there.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be cornerstone. Oh.